Not so long ago, I made a video on an RPG on the PS2 that I said you must play. It's a game you must experience, and I was wondering why more people did not talk about it. That game was Dark Cloud, and you can check that video out by clicking in the card in the top corner. But did you know there is a sequel that did everything that I loved about Dark Cloud so much better? That game is called, well, from at least where I'm from, Dark Chronicle. It's also known as Dark Cloud 2, and in today's video I want to go over everything and why this is also a must-play sequel regardless if you've played the first one or not. So with that being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. As always, got your cool timestamps down below in the description, so if you want to watch a certain section, feel free to do so. All I ask is you support the channel and hit the like button, and if you want to stick around for some more RPG content, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. So Dark Cloud 2, Dark Chronicle. What am I going to refer this as in this video? Well, I'm going to roll with Dark Chronicle because that's what I know it as. But I guess I'll start off with a question. What do you know this game as? Do you know it as Dark Chronicle, or do you know it as Dark Cloud 2? Let me know in the comment section below. But we're going to start off by setting the scene by reading the back of the box of Dark Chronicle. In the future, an evil emperor begins a journey back through time to eliminate a growing threat to his dominance. In the present, a world is dying. Only a single secluded town remains, but in this town, a carefree young man discovers a secret that affects the course of history and changes his life forever. And that boy we are talking about is Maximilian, our main protagonist of Dark Chronicle. We also have a girl called Monica, who is from the future. In a nutshell, these two characters both possess stones that have time travel. Monica's stone allows her to go 100 years into the past, and Max's stone allows him to go 100 years into the future. So when these two meet, you can only imagine the antics they get up to. There are many characters we come across the way, be them comrades or enemies. Not only that, the game introduces voice acting, which of course adds a complete new perspective of a story when it's being told, when it's being acted out, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of it. I'm not going to go into too much more detail. I think it's something you truly need to experience for yourself. So let's talk about the gameplay of Dark Chronicle. Now, what I loved about the first Dark Cloud was the different gameplay styles. The fact that I could go into a dungeon, I could grind, I could get new weapons, new items, and then if I wanted to, I could just spend my town in a building simulator, building the town, trying to keep the inhabitants happy by placing them where they want to, and then moving on to the next thing. Dark Chronicle takes that, and it takes it to the extreme and adds so many more bells and whistles. So where shall we start? I think we should talk about exploration, because we have quite a steampunk setting here with Dark Chronicle. We do visit various locales throughout the story, but with the shell-shaded graphics we have here in Dark Chronicle, it looks amazing. But as we're traversing through these dungeons and through these towns, we can see how much of an improvement it is from the original Dark Cloud. And the fact that we can time travel back and forth various locations, we'll talk about it in a second, but we get to see different places at different times. But that then weaves in to our town simulator building. So let's just move on to that. We get to build up these towns, and what we're trying to do here in Dark Chronicle is we're trying to rebuild these towns in the past. So when we go back to the future, it's all built up and we are really taking it to good old Emperor Griffin here. And that's essentially how we progress the story. But there's a lot more in depth this time around. In Dark Cloud, all you had to do was place some buildings, place the right people in them, and then place them where they wanted to be, whether they wanted to be next to trees or rivers, etc. We get to go back to the original town of Palm Brinks and talk to some NPCs, do some side quests for them, and then we can bring them along for the journey as well and implement them in. And we have a lot more flexibility of how we can build up our villages. Honestly, it is a system that I forever get lost in, but it's not the only system I forever get lost in when it comes to the exploration. Now, Max has a comrade called Cedric, and he is an inventor of sorts, and we get given very early on a camera. and we get to take pictures of literally, and I mean literally, everything, and we can use these pictures to give us ideas for inventions, whether it's a weapon, whether it's an item, whether it's an add-on for our ride pod, but we'll talk about the ride pod a little bit later. It's just another gameplay mechanic that's weaved in here to keep us going. You don't have to take any photos throughout the game. You can get through the game just fine, but if you were to take pictures of everything very early on, you could create some things that could get you quite overpowered early on. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. What I love about it is it's something that's completely optional, and it doesn't give you that sense of FOMO. It is just something that you can do along your way. Maybe you're interested in a certain upgrade that might help you in a dungeon, and you can shift your attention there, but it's not something that's mandatory, and I really dig that. That isn't the only thing when it comes to exploration. We can go fishing. I always like a good old fishing minigame in any of my RPGs because it's just a time to chill and catch some fish. We can interact with all the NPCs in these towns, and they've always got something to say. They constantly update their dialogue wherever you are in the story and whatever you've progressed or what they might need in the villages, or if they want to come over from Palm Brinks. It gives some real nice immersion in Dark Chronicle. And while we're talking about NPCs, I've mentioned the fact that we can go back to Palm Brinks and bring characters forward to the various locales that we visit. But Dark Chronicle offers a recruitment system that's pretty damn cool. Now, it can range from characters being able to just sell you items, but it can extend to more than that. You can have them in your party, not active or do any combat with them, but they can offer benefits that can help you through stuff. So for example, if you were to recruit Cedric, he can refuel and repair the ride pod for free and trade you parts and upgrades in exchange for EXP. It can also increase synth points for Max's right-hand weapon, +1 on each level up. And then you have Donnie that will sell you health items, repair powders, but if he's in your party, he'll unlock treasure chests for you and doors. So there's so many ways you can implement the characters that you meet in Palm Brinks into the gameplay. Let's shift over to the dungeons, because Dark Cloud was quite the dungeon crawler. Dark Chronicle also has the dungeon crawling, but it gives you so much replay value. There's so much flexibility as well. I've not really talked about Monica. She's more of a sword wielder with various elements that she can imbue, and she has magical powers that she can shoot out. Max essentially just has his wrench and a gun, and we have the Ripod as well, which is essentially a massive robot that you can use to go against bigger enemies, but we'll go into more detail about this when we talk about combat. When we're traversing these dungeons, there's many things to see. There's many stipulations sometimes that we get, like we can only use Monica, we can only use magic, we can only use Max's gun. There's so many layers upon layers, and you don't have to do it because they have this amazing replayable mechanic of where you can go back through the floors, and each floor has medals for you to collect if you do certain things. So if you decide to only use Max and only use his gun, you'll get a medal, and it just gives that sense of achievement. Of course, I've mentioned the stipulations that can happen on certain floors where you have to use Monica or you have to use Max and you can't switch them in and out, and it just allows you to get to grips with its systems and play around with both characters, because you might end up having a favorite. So I really like the way it does it here in its dungeons. Also, once we've completed a dungeon, this is something I really like. You eliminate all the monsters. You expect it to be peaceful, and it indeed pushes that sense of peace by playing a beautiful, calm soundtrack. But then later in the game, you get introduced to this other mini game called Sphere, I think is the right way to pronounce it, but essentially it's golf. You go back through these floors of dungeons and you play golf for some more rewards. It's pretty insane looking back what Dark Chronicle has to offer in its exploration and gameplay. But let's move on to the combat. So we have two main characters. We have Max, he is equipped with a wrench and he is equipped with a gun. We have Monica, she's equipped with a sword, and she also has the ability to shoot off magic. So basically each character offers a close-ranged combat mechanic and a long-ranged combat mechanic, and you can mix and match it the way you want to. But when you use your long-range combat, you need to keep an eye on that bar because it drips down. Obviously Max has his ammunition for his gun, and Monica has, like, I guess we could call them mana points. But then I've mentioned this ride pod throughout the video already. What is this ride pod? Well, it's essentially this big robot that Max gets to pilot, pilot, and it's fully customizable. It's mainly used for certain mechanics like the first big boss. It urges you to use it, and there are bigger enemies in the dungeons that you can only beat using the Ripod. And again, we can customize it by using either the photo inventions that we've come up with or just collecting items along the way. We have such an in-depth upgrading system here. So any item we collect, and I mean anything, it can be from fire crystals to a bunch of hay, we can crystallize this item and then imbue it in our weapon, because the way the weapon upgrading works is we have a tree, and if we want to use one, we need to hit certain statistics, and to get those statistics we of course need to crystallize certain items to put in. But we can't just crystallize things willy-nilly whenever we want. We need to gain levels to then use to then imbue it into the weapons. But you'll always want to go out your way to collect various materials, and you'll probably get pretty damn lost in this system because it provides so much customization, and we have so many unique weapons that we can craft up here. Honestly, the more and more I talk about Dark Chronicle, I just want to go back. I want to play through the game. I want to upgrade my weapons. I want to make these villages and towns look fantastic, both in the past and in the future. But everything that Dark Cloud brought to the table, Dark Chronicle really made so much better, and that includes its soundtrack. There's so many banging tunes, which I've probably used in the background of this video, but it just overall adds to the experience of Dark Chronicle and makes it a phenomenal game. I think looking back, Dark Chronicle is a great RPG. Sometimes you could get quite overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that it actually offers, but the fact that it doesn't give you that sense of FOMO and it doesn't expect you to go into all of the systems, but it's there for you to dive in if you want to, makes it a great RPG to dive into and experience. But there we have it, Dark Chronicle, a phenomenal game on the PlayStation 2, one of my all-time favorites, and I just wanted to spend some time today talking about it because I thought I talked about Dark Cloud and a lot of people chimed in saying, yeah man, this is a game I forgot about, it was so good. But I just want to bring attention to its sequel, of which, again, I will reiterate right now, you don't need to play Dark Cloud to play. You can dive in absolutely blind and have a great time. There is only a few little references here and there, and maybe a small thing in the epilogue as well for those that have played the first game, but this is something that you can feel comfortable with as your first Dark Cloud experience. So let me know in the comment section down below, have you played Dark Chronicle? Did you like it? Is it a hidden gem, or do more people know about it than I think? Because much like Dark Cloud, I don't see a lot of people talking about this one. I appreciate your time, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.